Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another live this morning, and hope you're having a great day. And just as always, before getting started, we'll wait on a few people to come in and say hello and make sure you can see me and hear me. And good morning to you, Nativity, and Nick is on with us this morning, and always good to have you on. Diane, good morning. And Elaine, always good. Jan, how are you? Okay, Linda. Are you the listen, Linda? When I say listen? Jerry, how are you? Diane, two Dianes. Good morning. Yolande, bonjour. Joanne and Rebecca. Again, always great, guys, to have you on. I don't take that for granted. And Farida, nice to have you on. Zian, how are you? Vicky, Angelina from Tennessee, Pauline, Marina from Newfoundland, and Sharon and Dan, how are you? Marin, again this morning. Okay, you guys are part of the family. We appreciate it. And Faye, how are you doing? And Rita, you guys are great. Sure appreciate you coming on. It makes a big difference to me. From Guyana, Juliet. Wow. Is that your first time, Juliet? And Joss, how are you? Tamanakla, Lucy, Evelyn, from Sudbury. Never heard of it. Agnes, Karen, Arlene. Okay, so you guys are great, Lise. Okay, got to get going. We're going to talk this morning, and Jeanette and Diane, and okay. We're going to talk Gail from Perry Sound. I got to say hello, Keith. How are you? I missed you yesterday, but I think you came on a little bit late, right? Okay, Madonna. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, well, we're going to talk about autism, but there was it was more of a news. I saw it on a news feed. I don't know if it was CTV or whatever that I saw yesterday or the day before. I can't remember exactly, but it says that if mom, while she is pregnant, uses cannabis, marijuana, it increases the risk of autism for the child. Okay? Now, I don't know if that was, when I read it, it didn't give whether that was more of an observational type of study that they looked at, but it could be a downer. A lot of people have asked me, by the way, about CBD oil. And listen, if it works, I just find, like, for me, this has been my experience with the hemp oil, okay, and the CBD oil, which is it's an extract that is very, very precise. And some people have gotten good results for pain and sleeping, but this is just, again, I'm just going to give you a general observation. By the way, it doesn't have, the CBD oil does not have it's made from the same plant, but it doesn't have the possible harming effects of the plant. Okay, so the CBD oil doesn't have the, what is it called? THC, or I got to look it up. I can't remember. But I've been talking about hemp oil for many, many years, and I got no problem with that. I just find that, people, it's almost like melatonin. They get some original results with it, but then after a period of time, it's not quite as effective. But I certainly got no issue with you trying the oil. Now, smoking the marijuana, I got issues with that. Okay, like it's a drug. It's, I remember I was never into so much the, like in my teenage years or whatever. I think it was more grade 13. Yeah, there used to be a grade 13. But I remember a couple of my buddies, we were all into sports. So it's not like we didn't party, but we were, I was into sports. I was playing ball, I was playing hockey, and, we played around with alcohol, but I was just, drugs, were sort of on the fringe at that time. And none of my buddies really experimented with it. Maybe a little bit, the marijuana, but today that marijuana is, 40, 50 times stronger. So anybody that was asking me about that, I'm very careful. The CBD oil is a little bit different because it doesn't have the harmful component. And for some people, they find it effective, and I'm all for it, man. I just find clinically for me, it seems to wear off, like melatonin does. Like I love melatonin, but your body makes melatonin, by the way. And when you get out in the sun, you make melatonin. When you have a very, very dark room at night, pitch black, you make melatonin. Your body makes it. And you restock the shelves of melatonin in your body when you get in the sun. And you get into a dark room, pitch black, no light at all. So, interesting, isn't it? Okay, so let's talk a little bit this morning about autism. And this was with the marijuana, so shouldn't be using marijuana when you're pregnant, and I think probably every doctor in the world would agree with that. You got to be very careful with pregnancy, right? But I want to specifically talk about autism. Now, you guys have heard me say this in the past, and I'll say it again. I have never seen one case in all my years. The first time I heard about autism was in 1978. I was at a board meeting in Toronto, and a colleague of mine told me that he had 2 autistic sons, and I must have looked stunned because I didn't even know. Honestly, I did not know what he was talking about. I didn't know what autism was. You look up, and I got some old medical books in the background there. If you look in some of those books, you won't see autism. I can guarantee you that. I never heard of it. Before 1978 is the first time I ever heard of it. And it was so rare that this guy told me 2 of his sons had autism. What? What is that? And he gave me a pretty good explanation, and I never forgot it. But they didn't know what, is it genetics? Is it a defect? Is it whatever? But we've got a much better idea today what causes it. And again, I'm only going to tell you my clinical findings because I've seen hundreds and hundreds of autistic kids in my practice. And I've never seen a case, not one, that they didn't have leaky gut. So, leaky gut is certainly at the root. Now, what causes leaky gut? Baby has leaky gut. Little child has leaky gut. What causes that? And my theory is number one cause of autism, in my opinion. What causes leaky gut? Number one on the hit parade that causes it. Antibiotics. Now again, before you come after me, let me put my little disclaimer out. Antibiotics save your life. Antibiotics are the greatest discovery. I think I coined this. The greatest discovery of the 20th century and the curse of the 21st. Maybe even this week. Tomorrow, what I have planned is I'm going to talk to you about a terrific new study that came out on probiotics. I just want to bring that out tomorrow. But you understand this again. It's always repetition. But the gut has more hormones, more serotonin, more dopamine than your brain. The gut, the microbiome, is a battleground. In every human being, it's a battleground between good and bad bacteria. You just have to understand that. It is well established. I think medicine has made a huge mistake by not taking the microbiome much more seriously than they should. Because the father of medicine, Hippocrates, said 2,000 years ago that all disease start in the gut. And I'm going to tell you something. That dude, he was a pretty smart guy. Known as, when you take the Hippocratic Oath as a doctor, you put your hand up and you swear you will do no harm in medicine. But medicine hasn't taken the microbiome. Look, not all medicine, okay? But mostly medicine has gone by the microbiome and hardly given it another look. And that's a big issue, because I'll tell you why. Because the overuse of antibiotics, and by the way, I have another study, maybe Thursday. And it's an interesting story that is behind the news. It didn't get any attention, and that's my job, is to bring those out for you. That there's a study out there that's showing that the next plague, the next pandemic will not be a virus, but a bacteria. And I'll talk about that maybe Thursday, because it's interesting. I got some good notes that I wanted to bring out to you. But the gut. And when baby gets autism, the microbiome, that ecosystem in the gut has been deranged. And I am so convinced that this is true for the actual cause of autism. And again, I always reverse engineer, go backwards, okay? A kid's got autism. I never used to see autism, but now I see a lot of autism. It's 1 out of 40-something births, I think now, are autistic. It's a scourge on society. Kids that can't talk, a lot of them. And Rosie and I were watching, I can't even remember, what's the name of the show? With Simon Cowell. America's Got Talent. I think it's called that. And there was an autistic kid who played the piano and sang, and he was blind and could not really communicate, but oh boy, was he a musician or what, and could sing. And it was incredible to watch. They have such talent, but it's such a scourge on society, this autism. And I know that in our province in Ontario here, that the parents are complaining because there are not enough resources for them. Because you can imagine this, anybody with an autistic child just has, I mean, it's a lifelong care. They need help. And, but where does it come from? And, you know, there's a talk out there that this is, comes from vaccines. Look, I'm not convinced about that. Not that, okay, and look, there's a big difference today in vaccination compared to what before. When I was a kid, they gave out 2 vaccines. I know for polio, for sure. But today, I think before the age of 2, they give out 70 of them. And I'm not saying good or bad or ugly. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that that may be a factor in autism, but it, in my opinion, is not the cause of autism. Because the cause starts in the gut. The cause, I believe, are more linked to the use of antibiotics. And I'm just going to give you some general observations of these are statistically true for an autistic kid. Okay, if there's an autistic kid, let me just, I'm going to break it down by what is happened to mommy and then what happened to baby. Okay, and this is part of my new book, by the way. Because under the section of leaky gut, I just bring out these statistics that are fascinating. So mommy of an autistic child, on average, and there's always exceptions, but this is on average, 1, mommy was on antibiotics during or even a year before the pregnancy. Okay? Mommy was on antibiotics during or even a year before you know, maybe for a sinus infection. For women, it's so common, a UTI, right? A urinary tract infection. Well, you don't, look, you got a urinary tract infection. You're taking an antibiotic, of course. But if you don't take a probiotic, you're disrupting. People don't realize that they disrupt the microbiome. You have hundreds of trillions of bacteria in your body. Good, bad, and ugly. But they, you know, like I mentioned a few weeks ago, it's like 2 armies. You know, you read the story of David and Goliath. And before David got there was the Philistines on one side and the Israeli army on the other side. And for months, they were just looking at each other. And big Goliath would come out and taunt the Israelites. You know, he's saying, look, we don't need to have a general war. How about me against your best guy? And it's a great story, by the way. And the Israelites were scared skinny of this guy. And they didn't want to fight, send out their best guy till David came. It's a tremendous story, right? David and Goliath. But that's what happens in the gut. As long as you got enough good guys. I'm going to talk to you about David. The David of friendly bacteria probiotics. Tomorrow, maybe. Okay. But this is just general information, overarching, looking at autism and then looking at mommy. And mommy, just generally, of course there's exceptions. 1, antibiotics during or a year before pregnancy. Interesting, isn't it? Okay? And those are not coming from me, guys. Those are not just my observations. Okay? This is clinical observation. Number 2, on average, though the mummy suffered from gestational diabetes, which is diabetes during pregnancy. A lot of women go through that. And that is a common factor. When baby has autism, mommy had gestational diabetes. What's the connection there? Elevated insulin, elevated inflammation. The baby's affected by that. The baby's brain is affected by that. And even gestational diabetes would have effect on the microbiome. And thirdly, bad diet. Mommy had a bad diet. This is just too much crappy carbohydrates, too much sugar. That promotes the growth of the third army. Yeast. That's leaky gut, by the way. When you have leaky gut, you got candida. You got yeast that's gone into that bloodstream and it becomes systemic and can get into the brain. And it travels. It gets across the blood-brain barrier because there are not enough friendly bacteria in baby to protect the blood-brain barrier. All fascinating stuff. Obesity. Mommy, her risk of having autistic baby go up big time with obesity. So again, you're talking about insulin. Obesity is a symptom. Obesity is never the cause. Obesity is a symptom of high circulating insulin. It's always insulin, insulin, insulin. And that has an effect on the microbiome. So that's what we know about mommy. And here's one more. Here's one more. Mommy had a C-section. Mommy had a C-section. Now again, there's exceptions to that, okay? So don't come after me. I'm only giving you what medicine already knows. But you never hear about it because they never talk about the cause. All medicine is so focused in on knocking down that it could be vaccines. They don't talk about anything else. Really, you have no idea how I have to dig for this stuff to find out, the news behind the health news. Mommy has C-sections. And even I know this happened a couple of years ago, the Canadian Society of Obstetricians put out a little warning to their members. Quit doing so many C-sections. Now, ladies, okay, please. Have mercy upon a man, okay? What would we ever know about having a baby? A man would never have, well, look, he might have one, but he'd never have another one. Men ain't tough enough, ladies. I'm on your side, okay? Men, we are a bunch of babies. Men, nah, we could never have a baby. Well, but like I said, we could have one and then that'd be the end of it. Seriously, men are not tough. Women are tough. Okay? But, and I get it, C-sections, again, you got a breech birth or whatever. You got to, a C-section can save the mommy's life and the baby's life. I get that. But there's a reason for the birth canal. That the baby goes right through the birth canal. That's not only good for mommy. It's really good for mommy, but it's much better for the baby. What happens? The baby goes through that canal and picks up all mama's bacteria. The mucosa. The baby comes out with all that mucus, right? When it goes through the birth canal, they're getting that friendly bacteria from mommy. There's a reason. Like I said, we know so much more about bacteria today than we used to. So on the side of mommy, antibiotics, the greatest discovery of the 20th century, now becoming the curse. Now becoming the curse of the 21st. Gestational diabetes, insulin. Obesity, insulin. A bad diet, insulin. You see why I'm always hooked on insulin? And baby has gone through a C-section. And this is, again, I'm going to give you the baby side now. We already talked, the baby had to obviously go through, that didn't go through mom's birth canal. So the C-section, that's on the baby side too, obviously. But here's common denominators for autistic children. Antibiotics in early life for them. It's common. Ear infections or whatever. Not breastfed. It increases the risk of autism in the baby. They're not breastfed. Now we know, and it's interesting, I mentioned this a while back, but, you know, I went through the era of breastfeeding, you know, like it was the food company. If you don't think the food companies are powerful, just think on how they market, well, their cereals, and they still do it today. Oh, this is a great option. Tony the Tiger, they're great. No, they're not. They're not great. They're great at giving you diabetes. That's what they're great at. They're not great. You know, people think because of the food industry that oatmeal is a superfood. No, it's not. It's a superfood to elevate your blood sugar like nobody's business. So don't fool yourself. That's the food industry. They're good at it. Eat our Cheerios because they're whole wheat. Yeah, they're not good for you. Okay? But the food industry, what they did about 50 years ago, they started promoting formula. And formula was much better than mommy's breast. The food industry did that. They pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And they sent all these samples to the family doctors. And formula. Well, you know, formula is more complete than breast milk. I mean, that was the message. I remember that. You have to be my age to remember that. And they pushed and pushed, and thousands and millions of women bought that. And what happened? Baby suffered because there's nothing like breast milk. You see, you can't get lactoferrin. Mummy's got that. Colostrum. Mummy's got that. Gives it to baby. That is such an important part of the immune system, and this is what baby misses when they don't get breastfed. And look, I understand there's some reasons for not breastfeeding, you know, like I get it. So please, I'm a man. Have mercy. Okay? But these are just statistics on autism. Exceptions, of course. But I'm giving you some generalities. And this is, you know, if everything is equal, then for sure, mommy, you know that. And now it turned around in the last 20 years or so. Then, because we have the internet and because there's so much more social media and there's so many more, it's not just people sitting down and watching the nightly news. People have a lot more sources of information, and now women get it. They understand, oh, gee, like nature, breastfeeding is much better. Yeah. Yes, that's true. So you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So, okay. Autism. Way back when I started this podcast, what did I say? Oh, marijuana. So it'll probably be added to the list. Mummy was maybe smoking marijuana, okay? But I brought to you the other ones that are very new, by the way. These are new statistics that have come out in the last year or two that I've included in my new book, okay? So, interesting, isn't it? Leaky gut, leaky brain. Not enough friendly bacteria. A big, and I believe the cause. I believe that war is the cause of autism. Okay? I think I could defend my thesis with a lot of clinical experience and just been around the block a long time. Okay, I love you guys. Tomorrow we'll probably do a story. It's tremendous. You're going to really like this. I'll tell you, a new study out on probiotics, and really fascinating. So it'll be a little bit about the leaky gut again. I think we're going to do that tomorrow. And Friday is question and answer Friday, so don't be shy. Send in your questions, okay? I really enjoyed doing the question and answer. Of course, you have any questions at all, and maybe, if you have anything that you want, our staff is there for you, okay? So if you're not part of our private members group, then please join that, the Martin Clinic private member Facebook group. It's by invitation only, okay? So, but we're up to, 8,000 or 9,000 people just in that group, and it's been a tremendous experience for you guys, but for us, it's great because we want to give you feedback, okay? And then Friday, and then if you get a chance, please give us your feedback on the program and share this with others. You probably know people that have autistic children or whatever, or even, mommies looking at, at a pregnancy or whatever. It's important to take these steps, okay? Okay, so we'll talk to you soon. God bless you.